As an old Irish butcher friend of mine always used to say to me, "Ah, Simon, pork belly, it's the sweetest part of the pig," and he was absolutely right. But there's far more to pork belly than just making bacon, and this pork belly porchetta is the perfect dish to impress any friends. So we just went to the Asian market and got this beast. That is 10 pounds of wonderful pork belly, and what we're going to make is a pork belly porchetta. So we're going to stuff that with a GREMOLATA, which is a mix of fresh herbs and garlic and lemon and salt. We're going to rub that on the inside, on the meat side, and then I'm going to score the outside and rub that with a salt, using kosher salt, black pepper, fennel seeds, and wonderful juniper berries. So we're going to make wonderful flavors on the inside and out. We're going to let it sit for a while before we put it in the oven, so the salt is going to cure the skin, so it's going to get wonderful and crunchy. But before we do anything else, I have to get a bit medieval with it and score the skin. And the reason we're going to do that, I'm going to actually make these small cuts through the flesh, and you can see it's a little bit tough, so I have to go a couple of times, just through almost to the meat. I'm going to do that the entire way along the pork belly. It's a little bit tough here. Using this very sharp knife. And what's going to happen is all the salt is going to get into here, and it's going to make this skin incredibly crackly and crunchy and beautiful. This has become one of my go-to dishes now whenever I'm cooking in people's houses. I like to get a whole pork belly or something, or even a smaller piece than this. You could even cut this in two because it's such a big amount, but we're going to feed a lot of people tonight, so we're going to have the whole thing, I think, but there'll be lots left over. So we're just going to try and cut through. You can see some places a little more tough than others. Okay, so now that we have scored our beautiful piece of piggy, we're going to make the rub to go over the skin, and I like to add lots of flavour into that. Now, to get that really crunchy, crackly skin, one of the main things we're going to need is salt. Looks like quite a lot of salt, but A, we've got a very big piece of pig, and B, a lot of this will actually cook off during the roasting process. So don't get too worried about this, but we're going to use probably about, I'm going to say for this, we're almost going to be over 1/4 cup of salt, probably closer to half. That sounds like a great deal, but we're going to blend it with some other things. So lots of salt. Then we're going to add juniper berries. If you smell juniper berries, they smell a bit like gin, because this is the only botanical that you actually need to put in gin. So I like to add this. I think it works really well. So I put probably about 10 juniper berries in there. Then I'm also going to add fennel seed. Fennel and pork just work incredibly well together. So this is the equivalent of about 2 tablespoons of fennel seed. So full flavors going in on here. And then we're going to add black peppercorns. So we're going to add probably again about the same amount, 10 black peppercorns. Yeah, I'm just eyeballing this. You don't need to be measuring this exactly. You want to get it to quite a fine powder. So, oh, the smell is amazing. If you smell that now, you're getting just a little warmth from the pepper, beautiful fennel, so that's like an aniseed flavor, salt, and that ginny smell that you're going to get from the juniper berries, and all of that is going to get rubbed into that beautiful skin. We've just made the rub to go on the outside of the pork, but we don't want to stop delivering flavor there. We need to have wonderful flavor inside the pork for when people cut into it. So we're going to make what's called a GREMOLATA, and this is a very, very simple thing. And we're going to use some lemon peel. I've already got some in here with some garlic. So we're just going to peel some more lemon zest. We're not going to use the juice, just the zest in this case, because don't forget that when it comes to fragrance, about 90% of the aroma and the flavors are going to be in that zest. So we're going to add that to our grinder again with the garlic cloves. And I've picked a lot of wonderful herbs that go beautifully with pork. So we've got sage there, we've got marjoram, we've got tarragon, we've got rosemary, again, fresh from the garden here. It smells wonderful. And once you mix that up and you grate it all the aromas are going to come out. And we're going to add just a little bit of olive oil to help it along. And this is going to make a most wonderful, wonderful paste. And we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of salt. Now this is not so much for the flavoring, although it will obviously help flavor the meat with a little bit of salt. But this is going to work as friction and help just break this down. We want this just as a fine mix. And that should be good. Yeah, that's perfect. So now that's the perfect consistency. That's going to be absolutely splendid, rubbed all over the inside of our belly pork. Now it's time to get stuffing. I'm just going to gently score the inside of the belly, and that's going to help these flavors penetrate into the meat. Now you can see it's got a little bit of what we call silver skin there. If I was cooking this very quickly, I would take that out, but that's actually just going to break down while we're roasting this, so I don't need to worry about that too much. If you've got extra pieces of fat though, like here, you can see you just trim it out. You don't particularly want that. But this is going to baste. It's already getting me very excited, I have to say. We're going to add a sprinkle of salt. Again, not too much because there's plenty of salt on the outside. Then we're going to add our GREMOLATA. Spread it out as evenly as you can. But the smells are absolutely extraordinary. Oh, it is fantastic. So now we're going to roll the meat. And so you don't have to do a kind of fancy butcher's knot here where you can see them doing. You're just going to do that. What I tend to do is to do it at both ends first. That way I find it holds together and I can work my way down. And I'm just going to now do that all the way along until this is fully tied up. You're really just wanting to keep all of these beautiful ingredients that you've put in the middle safe, and so they go into the meat, not into the baking pan. We've got all that flavor inside. We're now going to put a lot of flavor outside. So this is where we get in with our beautiful rub. You remember we made that with salt and fennel and peppercorns and juniper berries, and we're really going to get in. We're going to rub this really well into those cracks. And as I said, it seems like a lot of salt, but a lot of this will cook off during the process. But what we really want to do, and why I'm putting so much on, is we're really trying to cure the skin. So sometimes I'll actually do this overnight, but we're going to leave this for a few hours now and really rub this into the skin to get this beautiful flavor and crackling that we want. That is ready to go and sit in the fridge for about 3 or 4 hours before we put it into the oven. That's basically how I would prepare my porchetta. I always like to make what I call a trivet out of vegetables. So here I've got a mixture, just the stuff I've got left, which is some red onion, heads of garlic, then some citrus. Remember, whenever you're cooking, add seasoning at every stage, as much as you can. The more you add in, the more you're going to get out. Black pepper. Excellent stuff. Good dribble. That's a technical term. Good dribble of olive oil. We're going to add that on top of those onions and the citrus and the garlic. Again, one more dribble of olive oil and it's ready for the oven. And this little bit of olive oil will just help that skin get going.
To really get that crunchy exterior that we're looking for, it's important to start cooking your porchetta at a really high heat. I do this for about 30 minutes at 500 degrees Fahrenheit, keeping an eye to make sure that the skin doesn't burn. Once I see that the skin begins to pop and bubble, I'll turn the heat of the oven down to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit and cover my porchetta loosely with foil. Then I'll cook it until it reaches an internal temperature of 140 degrees. Once you've taken your porchetta from the oven, it's really important to let it rest. I cover mine with foil and I'll leave it for 20 to 30 minutes so the juices can really settle. This makes it so much easier to slice and serve.